the big event, the Grand Prix here this afternoon, that's been televised worldwide. So the results of Class 736, the authentic period turnout being presented over there in front of the Cumberland stand. First place goes to catalogue 2136, Glenwood Look at Me, Reagan Proctor Family Show Team from Madigan, New South Wales. Second to catalogue 1042 is Ashwood's Tattlerist with Ashley and Robin Allison Woods and family from Ashwood Hackney Stud at Murrurundi, New South Wales. And third place goes to catalogue number 1208, and that's Broford Loving It with Shelley Brody from Murrurundi from New South Wales. So enjoy the show-jumping event. As I said, the Grand Prix is we're focusing on that, and if you'd like to follow the other results of the harness and the other results being decided, please look at the screen. And once again, we welcome back John Valence to take you through and introduce you to the Grand Prix.
Thank you very much, Angus, and Billy RAYMONT and STARDOM are underway. And Billy rides his own 17-year-old thoroughbred. He's a black gelding, standing 16 hands in height. Last year in the World Cup qualifier at Sydney Royal Show, he was second, so he likes the area, and he's been gradually warming to his task as the show goes on. So let's watch Billy and STARDOM as they jump the Olympic fences.
There's plenty of time, so we'll do 12.
Okay.
Because I think there are 12 places, aren't there?
Normally, yeah. So coming to the last and nothing to add. And that's the way to start a competition. All clear for Billy RAYMONT and STARDOM. So we will certainly see Billy and STARDOM back for the second round. And very encouraging signs for Billy. STARDOM has had a couple of fences down early in the course at the start of the show. That has come right on form, and looks like he's going to need a farrier as well. One of our photographer down there, Julie Wilson, spotted that he'd taken a shoe off, so Billy be out the back very quickly. He doesn't have another ride in this competition, but he has a bit of time before the second round. KALUNA Salute is our horse on course, and another rider from Queensland. This is Matt Afford. Matt has had a reasonable placing on Saturday. He had just the one rail down and finished in 9th position. Sunday he had 3 down, and Monday he had a couple down. So let's watch KALUNA Salute and Matt Afford. Couple of little rubs there in the double combination, but they don't count. The rails must be dislodged, or a block off the wall, or the plank. So far, so good for KALUNA Salute and Matt Afford as they come to the treble. Unfortunately, just that back rail and the skinny oxer, that gives him 4 penalties as he comes to the last fence. And there's a further 4 there, so that's a total of 8 for KALUNA Salute. And Matt Afford, their time 83.20. 83.20. And another Queensland rider on course now. This is the third Queenslander in a row. So very strong representation from Queensland. This is Stuart Jenkins, and he rides Fairview Animation. This is a 9-year-old bay gelding, standing 16.2 hands in height. So at the Australian Championships in 2015, he was in the top 15. In the World Cup competition at the Royal Melbourne Show, he was 8th. World Cup at Caboolture, 9th, and the Gatton World Cup, 3rd. So consistent performances in World Cup qualifying competitions for Stuart Jenkins and Fairview Animation. And unfortunately for Stuart and Fairview Animation, disobedience at the Sydney Harbour Bridge wall. That's 4 penalties. And that's even worse. That's elimination. So Fairview Animation not liking the Olympic obstacle at all. So we will not be seeing them back for the second round. Elimination there for Stuart Jenkins and Fairview Animation. From Bega, we welcome to the arena Clint Beresford. Clint rides his own EMMAVILLE Jitterbug, a 10-year-old brown gelding. And they had a win in the mini Prix at Sale Elms Show. They were first there. They were also first in the 6-bar at that competition. They were 4th in the Silver Tour of the Tamworth Jumping Championships and first in the Park Show. More recently, they were 3rd in the Olympic Cup at the Horse of the Year competition in New Zealand and 2nd in the Silver Fern Stakes. So Saturday they were 7th. Sunday was not such a brilliant day. Monday they redeemed themselves. Let's watch EMMAVILLE Jitterbug and Clint Beresford. And another horse that's taken a dislike to the Harbour Bridge. So a little bit of work for our ring crew here as they reset it. So 4 penalties there for EMMAVILLE Jitterbug and Clint Beresford. So whilst the ring crew reset the jump, Clint he's actually decided that he will eliminate himself or retire. I don't know what the judge will say, but they've gone back and jumped obstacle number 1 and they are out of the competition. So we've had a wonderful start to the competition with Stardom and Billy RAYMONT. They're all clear. Then KALUNA Salute with 2 down. And then unfortunately, our next 2 horses have taken a dislike to the Sydney Harbour Bridge wall. And one has had 2 refusals, Stuart Jenkins, so he was eliminated for 2 refusals. Clint Beresford had the refusal with a fence disturbance, and then decided to retire by jumping obstacle number 1 again. Silvo is our next horse on course, and Silvo is ridden by Brooke Dobbin, Brooke from Yarra Glen in Victoria, and Silvo is the nomination of Marcus and Angela Cooney, and they've been long-time supporters of Brooke, and they have a daughter who knows a lot about butterflies, Angus. I was in Singapore where Marcus and Angela were working and living at that time, and I designed a butterfly jump for the Youth Olympic Games, and it was made there. And one day Marcus and Angela's daughter came to me and said, "John, that butterfly is upside down. Their small wings are always on the bottom." So we went and had a look, and she was right, and so they had to rebuild the whole fence. Took them a couple of days, but whenever I get to meet Marcus and Angela, we always remember that day of the butterflies in Singapore at the Youth Olympic Games. So Silvo and Brooke Dobbin underway. I don't know what's going on here. No reason there for Silvo to have a refusal, and almost put Brooke out through the front door. So there is 4 penalties for the refusal, and to the time he takes on course, we will add 6 seconds. So all is back in place, the bell goes, and Brooke gets another chance at fence number 3. Let's hope that Silvo is focused on the fence and he can continue on the course. Totally bizarre. I don't know, most unlike this horse to have 2 refusals at a fence he's jumped on 3 or 4 occasions over the show. So the score sheet looks like this: 0 for the first horse, 8 for the penalties for the second, elimination, elimination, and elimination for the next 3. On course now, we have from Corindi in New South Wales, Michael Lees, and he rides his 12-year-old thoroughbred gelding, Keilor Canny Ever. It's interesting that the sire of Keilor Canny Ever is the thoroughbred Canny Lad, who won a golden slipper, and the preeminent 2-year-old competition, the Golden Slipper, was conducted just a few kilometres away on the weekend. The richest 2-year-old race in the world. The sire also won a sire's produce, was second in the Blue Diamond and third in the Cox Plate. So a very good racehorse, and Michael Lees has brought this thoroughbred along from off the track to jumping at the Grand Prix level. and unfortunately, there for Kilo Kanieva, just a bit too deep to the second element of the treble, and a little deep to there. So 2 rails down. That's a total of 8 jumping penalties as we come to the last for Kilo Kanieva and Michael Lees. And that's their score. A total of 85.40, 85.60, sorry. And a total of 8 jumping penalties. Ali Lamb is our next rider on course, and Ali rides her own Diamond B Corsica. This is a 9-year-old chestnut gelding from the Diamond B stud of Helen Chug. On Thursday, they were 7th in the speed competition. On Saturday, they jumped double clear to be first, and they've stepped up from Section 2 to the Grand Prix. So a horse that's on form and a rider who is certainly on form. Ali Lamb and Diamond B Corsica. And another horse that has had a refusal at the wall. In the mini Prix, we had it in that competition. It certainly didn't cause near the drama. Now, the judge didn't ring the bell there because the obstacle itself was not disturbed. It's just the wing. So the wings being outside the flags, there is no need to rebuild the fence until the end of the competition. In fact, it's not part of the jump that counts for penalties. So, another rail. We had a rail going into the treble, a double combination, and a rail coming out of the treble combination. And then we've had the refusal. So that's 12 penalties as they come to the last line, and we'll be into time fault territory as well. So they finish with 4 down plus 3 time, a total of 19 there for Ali Lamb and Diamond B Corsica. Still just the first horse on course, Stardom, who has completed the journey without any penalties. We have 2 horses on 8 penalties, KALUNA Salute, ridden by Matt Afford, and Kilo Kanieva and Michael Lees, who have completed the course with 8 penalties. Ali Lamb on 19, and the next combination is Clem Smith, and Clem rides Delilah. Delilah is an 11-year-old bay mare, bred in New Zealand by Vicky and Jeff McVean, campaigned there for some time by their daughter, Katie McVean, now Laurie. So far at the show, Delilah has a 3rd placing, an 11th and a 12th placing. And I think Clem there was worried that Delilah was going to stop at the wall and really pushed her on and just didn't get a stride to the wall or the obstacle after it. So 4 penalties for having the wall down and 4 penalties for the disobedience at fence 7. And that's added to the rail at 5A. So 12 penalties so far for Delilah and Clem Smith. So a second refusal on course there for Clem Smith. They are down in the books as elimination. So elimination there for Clem Smith and Delilah. So, interesting, these are more experienced horses and many of them who have jumped the Harbour Bridge on a number of occasions, really having a great trouble with it. The approach to it seems quite normal. The fence behind it is not too distracting. It's another obstacle that's been at the Royal Show for the last almost 16 years. They purchased it after the Olympic Games in Sydney, the Paddington Houses and the Harbour Bridge, and Ned Kelly. So most of these horses have been to 3 or 4 shows, Sydney Royal shows, and have jumped the obstacles. So who knows what gets into their head on competition day. One of our younger riders in this competition, this is James Hetherington, and James rides his own JB CARIBUS. James trains out of Durie, which is near Tamworth in northwestern New South Wales, and they've had a 4th placing at the show. During the year, they were 4th in the Grand Prix at Tamworth, 9th in the World Cup at the Showcase of Show Jumping, 5th at the Equestrian Lifestyle Festival, and 5th at the Greater Western Sydney Metre 45 competition. JB CARIBUS and James Hetherington on course. So fence 11, it's all clear. 2 to go. Down to the last oxer for James Hetherington. And he's left it there and it's all clear. There's our second clear round. We had to wait for a while and have 4 eliminations in between. But congratulations to James Hetherington and JB CARIBUS. So great result there for our younger rider from Durie, guy who put in a big effort last night at the celebration function, celebrating jumping. He was our auctioneer and kept everyone entertained. So well done, James. We certainly will see you in the second round. Now, a horse that has found some unusually great form, and I just say it because she has been so consistent over the show. This is the 12-year-old mare, Diamond B Vigo, ridden by Amanda Madigan, the nomination of Helen Chugg from Diamond B Farm. They have had time penalties on a couple of occasions, Monday and Tuesday, time penalties. Sunday they were second in after the jump off. So Amanda Madigan and Diamond B Vigo. Unfortunately there, and unlucky, I'd have to say unlucky, rail at fence 9C. Looked as if it was going to stay there for half a second. So just the 4 penalties as they come to the last line. And that's what they finish with. So another good round there for Diamond B Vigo and Amanda Madigan. Total of 4, and their time 83.87. 83.87. And that would put them third on the qualifying list for the second round. So the good form that Diamond B Vigo and Amanda have brought to the show continues. Second ride in the competition for Billy Raymont. Billy was our trailblazer in the Winning Appliances Grand Prix, and on Stardom they posted a clear round. We had to wait a while until James Hetherington and JB CARIBUS joined them as a clear round. As Billy approaches the start, this time it's Anton, a 12-year-old bay gelding, and they had a very good season last year where they won the Grand Prix at Glenhaven Park. They were second at the Queensland State Championships at Grand Prix and at the Royal Show in Brisbane. So Anton and Billy Raymont. And Anton, another one to not enjoy the look of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. His stride gradually got shorter and shorter and shorter until he put in a stop. So with rails down at fence 3 and 5A, plus the 4 for the disobedience at the wall, we may see Billy decide to call it quits, although he is allowed to reapproach the wall. And he's going to elect to jump fence 4 and abandon the course. So that is another one that we will not see in the next round. Now, our rider from KALUNA KALUNA on the central coast of New South Wales. This is a 16-year-old thoroughbred. COLOMBO, our rider from KALUNA, CARRARO. And they've been a partnership for 11 years. Nick took him from a paddock, or bought him out of a paddock, and where he'd been sent after his racing career, which didn't last very long. And for the past 11 years, he's been riding him, enjoying him. He jumped a great clear round at the Summer Classic and was the best performed thoroughbred at the 2015 Australian Championships. CARRARO and COLOMBO. So a total of 20 there for CARRARO and COLOMBO. The second half of the course caused quite a deal of problems for COLOMBO. ZENZATION is the horse on course, and our rider SAVANNA Hopkinson. And looking at Savannah's best five performances at the last Sydney Royal Easter Show, they were all in the young rider competition. She was second, first and second. She was the most successful young rider at Sydney Royal Show in 2015. And on her other horse, Baracello, which was the most successful Group 2 horse, she was the most successful rider last year in the juniors. She is still, in fact, eligible for junior competitions, but has elected to step up to open company, competed ZENZATION in Section 2 and is underway in the Grand Prix. SAVANNA Hopkinson and ZENZATION. So just the Australian flag planks down for ZENZATION, and that's a total of 4 for our youngest rider in the competition, SAVANNA Hopkinson, and ZENZATION, a total of 4. So it's still just the two clear rounds, Billy Raymond and Stardom, and James Hetherington and JB CARIBUS. We've had 13 competitors out, 2 clear, and 2 on 4 penalties, and 2 on 8 penalties. CP APRILLA, Chatham Park APRILLA is the horse on course, and our rider from Pitt Town on the outskirts of Sydney, this is Sharon SLATER. They were 10th on Saturday, 7th on Sunday, and just had 2 time penalties for a placing on Monday. And APRILLA put in a little skip just coming into the triple bar, and that made the vertical part of the treble combination a long way away, but they got away with it. So coming to fence 11, all clear. 2 to go. And yes, there it is, 3rd clear round, 91.14 the time taken, no time penalties today, 91.14 and all clear for Sharon SLATER. That gives us 3 on 0 penalties for the 2nd round. Sharon has had very consistent form and continues it in the Winning Appliances Grand Prix. A young rider from Queensland via Western Australia, Western Australian by descent, trains and studies in Queensland. This is Georgie Siciliano, and she rides her own Sovereign's Cezanne. And Sovereign Cezanne is a 10-year-old bay gelding, standing 17.3 hands in height. So the biggest horse in the competition and one of the smallest riders. Georgie Siciliano recently represented Australia in New Zealand in a young rider competition on borrowed horses and had a great show. The Australians were beaten 2-1 in the tests, but acquitted themselves very honourably, and it was a great, interesting competition. Ooh, had to work hard to get over the wall the 2nd time. So the 4 penalties, or 8 penalties now. Just struggling to reach the back rail of the ox coming out of the treble, so that gives them a further 4 for 12 penalties as they come to the last 3 obstacles. And clear over the last two, so finish on a total of 13. 13 penalties, 12 jumping one time. Yeah, I've done a few. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. So 13 there for Sovereign Cezanne and Georgie Siciliano. Another Queensland rider, this is Rebecca Jenkins. Rebecca, along with Stuart, nominated the horse RSB Jacana. They are from Glamorganvale in Queensland. And this is a 13-year-old brown-black mare, standing 17 hands in height. So, RSB Jacana, no problems at the wall, but a little deep to the Oxer at fence 7 following that. So, we've had the rail there for 4 penalties. Just the 4 penalties for Rebecca Allen so far. Comes to the last. Gives it a rub, a fairly solid rub too at 13, but it's still in the cups, and that's the most important thing. So they finished their course with just 4 jumping penalties and 86.77, 86.77 and 4 jumping penalties. So we have 5 riders to go. At the moment, we have just 3 clear rounds. Billy Raymond, James Hetherington and Sharon SLATER. Rebecca makes it the 3rd of the 4 penalty rounds, so we'll be definitely seeing them in round 2. From Nambrock, just outside of Sale in East Gippsland, we welcome Andrew Lamb. He rides his own CP Argento. Argento is an 11-year-old bay gelding, standing 16.3 hands in height. So unfortunately just a little long and flat to the triple bar and takes the back rail down for their 4 penalties. So 3 obstacles to go and they carry just 1 rail down the 4 penalties. We'll add a further 4 for the rail at 11. Total of 8 as we come to the last, and they finish on 8. So quite a good round there for CP Argento and Andrew Lamb. And that is the 3rd of our horses to have 8 jumping penalties. And at the moment, that is good enough to qualify for the 2nd round. So Billy Raymont, James Hetherington and Sharon SLATER all have posted clear rounds. We'll definitely see them back for the second round. Amanda Madigan, Savannah Hopkinson and Rebecca Jenkins all have 4 penalty rounds. And then Andrew Lamb, Michael Lees and Matt Afford are on 8 penalty rounds. And so it's likely to see those come back as well. Second ride in the competition for Clem Smith. This is Guru, a 13-year-old bay gelding standing 16 hands. They won the first competition in Section 1 on Thursday, and they were 9th on Sunday. So Guru and Clem Smith. Ducked across the fence there, the harbour bridge, but the judge has a good view of the white flag and could see that he was inside it, though he did touch it with his leg. So just the rail at 5B so far. 4 penalties for Guru and Clem Smith. So coming to the last, we have another 4 penalty round. No, it becomes an 8 penalty round as takes the front rail out of obstacle number 13, a total of 8 for Clem Smith, 84 seconds even. Congo Z is the horse on course and our rider from Mount White in New South Wales. This is Vicky Roycroft. Vicky and Congo Z have had 2 wins and a 4th placing at this year's show, so they're the Inform Section 1 horse. Vicky won the Queensland Championships in Queensland, or at Nambour in Queensland in 2015, and they were first in the World Cup qualifying competition at the Greater Sydney World Cup. So a rider with a great history in the sport at Olympic and World Cup and World Equestrian Games level. She rides her own Congo Z. So 2 to go and all clear. This can make it clear round number 4. And yes, there it is. Clear round. Oh, sorry, not a clear round. Fence 11, the back rail. Oh, yeah, back rail on fence 11 on the skinny oxer. That's the 2nd or 3rd time it's come down. So not a fence you would expect to have come down. So unfortunately there for Congo Z, it's not a clear round, it's a total of 4. Robert Goodwin, the last of our Queensland riders. We've had plenty of them in this competition, and it's always good to have them travel down to Sydney. From Lacey's Creek in Queensland, this is Robert Goodwin, and he rides Co-Pilot. They were second in the 6-bar competition last night, and they struggled a bit early in the show, so let's hope that they start to find some late form. Robert Goodwin and Co-Pilot. So coming to the last, carrying 8 jumping penalties, Co-Pilot and Robert Goodwin. Unfortunately, they add a further 4 at the last. That's a total of 12 jumping penalties for Co-Pilot and Robert Goodwin, total of 12. The last combination for the first round is on course now. This is Nicole Brueggemann. Nicole down there showing Lux Like Cavalier, her 10-year-old bay mare, showing her the wall. And Nicole has just moved out of young rider competitions, but had a very successful 2015. So at the Gatton World Cup show, she had a first placing. She had a third placing at the Gawler World Cup show. The Glenhaven Park Tour show, she was 4th. And at the Australian Show Jumping Championships, she was 6th in the Mini Prix. So South Australian rider from Gawler in South Australia, Nicole Brueggemann and Lux Like Cavalier, our last combination for the first round of the Grand Prix, brought to us by Winning Appliances, and we thank John and Kerry Winning for their support. So coming to the last 3 obstacles, and just having had a brick out of the Sydney Harbour Bridge wall, they are on 4. And another fence, another horse just to rub the back rail of fence 11, and that's come down for a further 4 penalties. And at the last, so it became expensive towards the end with 2 rails down. They finished the course with 12 penalties. 12 penalties for Lux Like Cavalier and Nicole Brueggemann. So Billy Raymont and Stardom were clear. James Hetherington and JB CARIBUS were clear. SHARON SLATER was clear. They are our 3 clear rounds. They'll bring 0 penalties to the second round. Then we had Amanda Madigan on 4 penalties. SAVANNA HOPKINSON and ZENZATION on 4 penalties. Rebecca Jenkins and RSB Jacana on 4 penalties. And Vicky Roycroft and Congo Z on 4 penalties. We will see those 4 penalty horses in the second round. We'll have a full list of the starters and the order of go for you very shortly. So we had 3 clear and 4 on 4 penalties. That is 7. And so we'll be taking some of the 8 penalty horses as well. They are Matt Afford and KALUNA Salute, Michael Lees and Keel Canny Ever, Andrew Lamb and CP Argento, Clem Smith and Guru also had penalties. So we'll be back with the second round in a moment. And in the meantime, I'll hand you over to Angus Lane.
Thanks very much. Thanks, John Balance. And great show dumping and a great call too. Lovely to be working with John here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show this year. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd just like to say thank you to Oakwood Products too. Thanks to Jeff Searle for his great support at the Royal Easter Show in their mini Prix earlier today. A very special thank you also to International Animal Health Products too for their continued support. They've been a great sponsor for many years now. And in the Grand Prix this afternoon, they're also competing for the Frank Thomas Memorial Perpetual Trophy. It was donated by the family of the late F.K. Thomas and first presented in 1986. His wife Evelyn and sons Michael, Anthony, Ian and Peter chose this event as the most appropriate and fitting memorial of Frank's work over the years with the horse section at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Mr. Thomas first became involved in the horse section, particularly show dumping in the late 1950s, and continued until his death in 1985. Initially, he worked as a steward and then for many years as a judge. To the best knowledge of his family, he never missed a royal show and enjoyed his RAS friends' company on a yearly holiday at the show. For many years, Mr. Thomas was an RAS councillor of Queensland Toowoomba Royal Show, and he was elected an honorary member of the RAS of New South Wales. And it's awarded to the owner of the winning horse in the Sydney Royal Easter Show Grand Prix. Looking back last year, Roy Hovell and Yolambi's Carpenaz was the winner. Russell Johnson won it in 2014. With Centurion, Sharon Slater with CP Ulysses was 2013. We had young Tom McDermott, nominated by the Tripp family, and Thomas McDermott, CP Romantic Dream was 2012. Vidor, Julia Hargraves was 2011. Clem Smith, Dark Ages, 2010, a horse that was owned by Mr. Neville Rose and Lynn Rose in Queensland, who also owned Sylvania, the horse that won 2 Australian show dumping titles with Peter Mullins in the saddle. So there's been some wonderful names going right back to 1986, when it was first presented and won by the late and the great David Asmus and Mrs. R. Christie and Kenrail, provided with Golden Grand, that magnificent horse. So we look forward to that presentation of this very prestigious award, the Frank Thomas Memorial Perpetual Trophy, when John Balance is done for the presentation of the completion of the Grand Prix. Just while they're rolling the arena and setting everything up for the next round, we'll take a special message from our sponsors in the Spotless Stadium.